Welcome back to Freedom to Learn podcast. My name is Gurumurthy Yeleswarapu. I'm founder and CEO of Siliconvalley4u. For those who are new to this podcast, subscribe it and press on the like button. You get to see a lot more episodes coming your way. Today we have Michael Tran, one of the students working with Siliconvalley4u on a project from UT Dallas, and he's completing his undergrad in information technologies. And so welcome, Michael.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me here, Guru.
Hey, so yeah, I know. So we've been working on a project for some time now. So for starters, why don't you tell about yourself in general, and how you ended up in UT Dallas, and then we'll go from there.
Sure, yeah. So a little about myself. I was born and raised here in Dallas, Texas, and growing up, I my parents actually worked. I come from a pretty middle class background. My parents owned two Chinese buffet restaurants growing up, so I was constantly in that environment, and seeing them work extremely hard to put me through all these extracurricular activities, extra math, piano, violin lessons. They worked extremely hard to, put me in a better academic situation. And so that right now it really drives me today to succeed in life and give back to my parents, because my parents are first generation immigrants from China and Vietnam. And so, yeah, that's about me. I grew up doing a lot of that, a lot of extracurriculars, and eventually, when it came down to deciding on which college to attend, I came to UT Dallas primarily for two reasons. First was their strong STEM and CS and academic programs, as well as the second reason being the full ride scholarship I was offered. And so, coming into UT Dallas, as a freshman, I was originally a computer engineering student, but after about during my first year, I actually got involved with a property management startup with a few friends in Austin, Texas. Our property management company was focused on providing short-term rentals like Airbnb through rental arbitrage, which is, if you don't know what that is, that's pitching to landlords, private landlords who don't really want to manage their property, and we come in and rent through them, and then from there offer short-term rentals, as well as we also operate in corporate housing, so giving to businesses that need to put their employees in Austin for a few months. And while it was great, I eventually, through that, I realized I was more interested in the business side of things, especially how technical applications could be used to apply for business companies, helping them generate more value and helping with their processes. So after that, I realized I was more interested in that side of things, and I changed my major to information technology and systems, which is my current major. It's simply put, it's a combination of both business and tech, and it's a really broad field. You can get into data analytics, business analytics. Lots of consulting roles out there. But yeah, so I eventually, I left the company after the first year to mostly focus on school. I was still a freshman, still figuring things out, and I became too involved in it, and I let my grades drop a little. It was a lot to handle as an 18-year-old just recently moved out of his parents' house, and just come out of high school. So I sold my shares, my ballot and my stake in the company, and to focus more on school. And from there, I eventually worked as a product consultant the following year at another startup with my friend, where this was during COVID and there was a huge medical mask shortage. So we were able to set up this supply channel for smaller critical access hospitals and clinics to distribute them medical masks, because there was a huge shortage at the time. And I learned a lot through sales and working with the like different medical supply channels. And that eventually I became more interested in supply channels and distribution. So that eventually led me to interning at DHL Supply Chain the following summer as a business data analyst, where I was able to work a lot with the warehouse managers, visualizing data, helping them make better decisions. And yeah, so that's a little my background. Currently in my graduating semester as a senior at UT Dallas.
Fantastic, man. So I really appreciate, at least, you seem to have come from reasonably humble beginnings, and you recognize that it's very important. And so I really appreciate that, because some at times, it's possible that you get caught up in a lot of things that are happening and kind of forget what happened. But that's very good. And also, it looks like you've been through a few interesting experiences while you're still in college. I think that is very important. So now that you did some of those, and you're also doing project, we'll talk about that in a minute. So what do you want to do when you are said and done? So, right after this, you want to pursue masters, or you want to, jump into the industry, or what is your plan?
Yeah, while I do want to eventually pursue higher education, I think that's very important. But I definitely immediately after graduating, I want to jump straight into the industry, build up some more experience for myself, and start making money too, of course. But most of the experience, and I think that is more important, in my opinion, coming straight out of college. Personally, for my personal situation. Um, and with that, I'm currently looking into the solutions engineering space. Actually, before this year, I was really interested in a wide variety of things. I have a lot of different, pretty diverse background from my work experience. And this past year, I kind of wanted to go into cybersecurity at first. Actually, was working towards getting my Security Plus certification, which I'm actually about to take the exam pretty soon and get that. But right now, after looking into so many industries and fields, I realized I want to work something that's not only is technical, but also is client-facing roles. Personally, I'm a huge people person, and I love working with customers on a day-to-day basis, but still having that technical aspect. So for me, I found that the solutions engineering space is really fits my personal skills, my skill
Got it.
sets.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you're not familiar with that, for those
No,
watching,
yeah.
solutions.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say real quick, solutions engineering. You're essentially working with the pre-sales team to help clients. You're the technical expert when it comes to the sales process of a tech company trying to sell their product to a business client. And so you're there working with the client, seeing like what best fits their needs, and you're running demos for them. So you're still like a technical expert. They put you through a lot of training in that aspect, which I love. But you're also working with clients.
Yeah, no, wonderful. Actually, that's in fact, I used to, when I was younger, I was fascinated with the same role, by the way. And more important, one thing is that you have to be overall expert of product, not just one aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's number one. Number two is you are a pseudo salesman. In other words, there's a salesperson who's selling, he's pushing very hard to get the sale happen, but you are also have to be in line with the sales team, and you also have to have tremendous drive and abilities, the outbound skills and communication, etc., to make the sale happen. Because so, in other words, in this process, you also understand how sale happens. And just so you know, I personally have a lot of respect for salespeople, because think for a second, right? If you look at sales team in any organization, you have to take the existing product that's there and somehow you have to sell it. So you don't know. I mean, if the product is highly sellable, of probably they won't even hire you. They hire you in the first place because they're not able to sell that product, right? So in other words, you have to, in a way, you have to sell something that's not highly sellable.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you are there. If it's sellable, then why are they paying you? Um, so that's a challenge, because you have to take whatever is given to you, and then first you have to make the sale, then you can take the feedback and try to work with the team and everything. But initially it can be fairly challenging. That's why I have a lot of respect for salespeople. If they don't make the sale happen, they're under a lot of pressure, and then so yeah, so that's the nature of the job. But anyway, but I think you have clarity in what you want to do. But my two cents to that is that generally what I say is that looks like you did go through, so people have to go through the discovery process, I call it. See, what does work for me, as much as you can. Nobody knows exact answer. Probably
Yeah.
nobody knows. But you have to have a clarity. Okay, this is going to get me going. For instance, there are layers, right? First, I want to be in corporate and grow, or I want to be entrepreneur. So because those are two different challenges and skill sets, and then below that, do I want to be in a certain domain? For instance, let's say real estate, if that's something works for you, or music, for instance, you did some music and things like. So some idea of, okay, this is the space I want to be in. Then come to the technology or the tools or whatever framework, and then you can, if you have those, and these things work out for me, then you can sort of plan your career accordingly. And as you progresses, things are going to change. In other words, technology is going to change, certain things are going to change. You run into somebody, that guy might ask you to work with you or whatever, work with him or her. And so you can make a addition, but at least you have a clarity on, okay, you know what, I'm doing this job and this is what I want. You have a reference, so that where the job is going, if job is going a certain way, you have a clarity. Okay, this is going the way I are expected. If it's not, you want to do something about it. I'll tell you why I'm saying all these. I didn't have any of that. I
Yeah.
had no clue what I was doing. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I joined because they were paying me. That's it. And so when I was in India, there were only 5 companies in the country total. So I was working for one of the companies. They put me on mainframes. I had no guts to say, I'm not going to do it. Are you kidding? So, I got a chance. That's it. That's too much already. Uh, so, and then they sent me US, and then they made me work for a mainframe company. They sent me to John Deere, and then blah blah. So, in other words, in 3 to 5 years' time, they decided my career. They decided my path. I end up doing whatever they asked me to do. There was never a question of whether I like it or not. I was just doing it, because
Yeah.
otherwise I'll be out, right? At least that's. So as a result, when you look back, did I want to do that? I'll never know the answer. Probably not. Or because I always had something like what you were saying. I wanted to be a customer facing. I was doing purely tech software, some sitting in some room and doing something. Um, but if I had a choice, I would have opted for this. That was never presented to me. I'll tell you why. There are two problems in this. One is the industry, and things were different back then. The second is the education system, or I would call it systems. I don't want to say education systems. If I do computer science, it's still the case, though, more or less. So let's say you are doing information technology. See, what you college is telling to industry is you are qualified for tech jobs. That's it. So now you are saying that, hey, I want to be a sales guy. You're not qualified because you don't have MBA degree. There is this predefined pathways, the static pathways, I call it. They define, if you want to be a marketing or a sales guy, you have to do MBA. If you want to be a technology guy, you have to do information systems. Why? I mean, why are you deciding what I want? You know what I mean? I want to be a sales guy, but I want to also learn the technology. I learned technology. Okay, now I want to be a sales guy. Why can't I be a sales guy? No, but you don't get the chance because you don't have experience, or you don't have formal education.
Well, I don't mean to cut you off there, but actually, I think recently, so the reason why I got into the solutions engineering space is because as I was looking for jobs in recruiting, I saw that there were actually quite a few recent graduate development programs. I think this is something in recent years that newer IT companies have been starting out, but they have solution engineering like academy programs where they actually hire recent grads, like people like me who are about to graduate, who have recently graduated, to put you through like an academy program they have. It's like a 1 year, one year program where they train you for their role specifically for the company, and then after that you are put into the actual solutions engineering role.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Yeah,
but for yeah, definitely I agree for the most part most companies still want someone with an MBA more experience, but there is I have seen that there are roles and opportunities out there for someone with less experience.
that's my precisely my, that's my point too. I know what. So here is my question there, right? You spent 4 years in college.
Yeah,
Why do you have to go through one more year? Why didn't you learn? Why didn't they learn? Why didn't they teach you? So in other words, in first year, they give you a discovery process, or second year, let's say second year, you got the discovery process going. Now you decide I want to be a solution architect. Why didn't you do solution architect training in third year? Why did you do something that you're not going to use?
well, that's the thing with college, right? Kind of like we were talking about earlier, how there is a real world gap
That's my
between
point. Yeah.
yeah, between what they teach us in school versus the real world, as in like the industry you're going to. There is a gap, and there always will be, right? I'm sure you heard the statement that especially in the tech industry, but everything you learn as a first year in college, by the time you get to your third year,
It's
most of
irrelevant.
it will become obsolete
Correct.
because of how fast the industry is growing,
That's correct.
and how fast technology is advancing. And so that's why, like, for colleges, right? I personally believe the whole point of college isn't just to really develop you for a specific role. It's college is mostly the experience of one, teaching you how to be disciplined, how to properly learn, and also gives you the credentials that, hey, I am someone who can work hard and who can be disciplined and be a good fit for this role. But it also teaches you like the learner experience of all the soft skills as well. And obviously, colleges can only do so much to prepare you for the role. And I think that's that's just how it is.
No,
Personally,
I
I
hear
believe,
you.
yeah,
No, yeah. See. That's not going to change. I'm not saying that's going to change. Point is that I hear you, but that is the problem I'm stating. The problem of whether it's high tech or otherwise. I hear you that I'm not saying that there is no use of going to college. I'm not saying that there
yeah,
is some use, but um, you know, at the end of the day, okay, in this process of doing this, whatever you mentioned certain things, there are two issues. One is, let's say, if I don't like physics,
mhm,
I should have an option not to do it. In other words, there are certain subjects that I had to go through. At least I can speak for myself. I knew I was never going to use. I mean, I knew that I'll never use
yeah,
them, and I had to go through a rough time to get through those exams. And they call it. They make me well-rounded. I don't think so.
yeah,
I can still be well-rounded in something that I want to do. So I did computer science back then. They made me do some mechanical engineering, welding, and tinsmith and all that. Not so. Point is that okay, there is that. So the other thing is, if I have to summarize this, it has to be a collaboration of real world and college as a degree. It should not be one or other.
yeah,
So you are right that you still need concepts, you still need some theoretical details and history of it and
yeah,
whatnot, and let's say how computer got evolved. I mean, no company is going to make you sit and hey, let's talk about computer history. Nobody's going to do it. They don't have time for it. Colleges do, and they do those things, which is good, and everybody needs to know how things evolved. And then at some point the industry aspect has to come in and give the option. I'm not saying that you take it or leave it. Whatever we have today is a option. That should not be the option.
I fully agree with that.
Yeah. So for instance, there are some folks, they like it the way it is. I'm not saying just deviate them from that and put them into something new. Let them do what they want to do. But in fact, a student, like right, I'm pretty sure some of your classmates would have dropped out or somewhere, if not in your college, somewhere else, or some guys, just left and doing something else and coming back and all. Why are these happening? Because the option that was given to them is not working out for them for whatever reasons.
Yeah.
Under challenge, over challenge, whatever it is. And
The traditional order isn't always for everyone.
yeah, it's a one static path, more or less, and then we expect the whole world to go through and come out with A plus. So and A or A plus. Otherwise, you're a bad student. Otherwise, right? So I think that is the if you're into data analytics, that's not going to happen. Not everybody is going to get A grades, and those who are not getting A grades, they are doing really well. Right? Not everybody's failing. When a lot of B graders, C graders are doing extremely well right now, and there are some A graders are not doing so well. And we all know that. Colleges know that. You know that. Your parents know that. We all know that. But we still follow the same methodology and then try one more time. And tomorrow, if my son goes through it, I want him to get A grades. And then, so even if he or she doesn't like whatever they're doing, we force them to do it and things like that. That's where you are right that it's evolving. I think in few years things are going to be different, as my opinion, because people are recognizing here and there, and and they are making decisions, and even parents are supporting. Right now, parents are paranoid if a kid comes, and especially educated parent, the kid comes, hey, I'm going to drop out. Oh, first thing is like, oh my, are you kidding? What are you talking about? Why? What happened? I mean, maybe dropping out may be a better option. Nobody knows. At least we don't have enough knowledge to assess that.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So, with that said, right? So I know I think that, nicely, translate to our next thing, which is, you talked about it. There is a gap between real world and, industry. So what's your take on that? And then, let's say if somehow, you wanted to be a system architect, right? System engineer, system architect, whatever, not solution architect, sorry. Solution architect or solution engineer, whatever. So if to pursue that, how your education helped to get there? If it did, what it is. If it didn't, then what do you think is missing?
Gotcha. Yeah. So to address like the gap between the college, what we learn in school versus the real world, I think like we just discussed, it is a very rigid, strict traditional path that doesn't work for everyone. And the schools don't really teach us everything that we need to do. They don't teach us everything we need to be fully prepared for, I guess, our specific real world industry. I think with that in mind, I think for people who are actually in college, students in college or going to college or plan to still attempt and go down that traditional path, you definitely need to, in my opinion, combine that with external learning. Like, so everything that I'm getting ready to go into my job, most of it I had to learn on my own, right? So it's definitely every college student should not just only go to class and then get the degree. You also need to supplement that with extra skills, whether that's different coding language if you want to become a software engineer, more certifications, or just constantly learning and staying up to date with the industry, because like I said earlier, it's constantly changing, constantly advancing, so you have to do extra learning on your own outside of college. And I think that that's what's going to help so many of so many students today in college get to where they want to be after college. You have to build up your own portfolio of extra skills, extra projects to really be successful in this day and age.
Yeah, you hit the nail right on the head. So I always say the same thing. In other words, with all the whatever it is, right? This things are the way they are. You can't change it. Nobody can change the world, and so you have to elevate yourself and figure out your path based on what you have, and take advantage of the things that you have. So if you don't realize that quickly or reasonably quickly, then you're going to lose a good amount of time figuring it out when you get into the real world. So when you get into the real world, there is a pressure, something called paycheck, and there is a responsibility, and swinging or kind of maneuvering things uh, while doing a responsible job is not easy. Whereas if you are trying to figure these things out while you are still in the college, is relatively easier because you don't have anything to lose, and you can try here, try there, like to gain the experience and test it out. So if you want to do the same thing, go to that company, try that for 6 months, and change that company, try for 6 months or a year or whatever, and then go. If you change 3 companies, the fourth company doesn't give you a job because this guy is going to leave in 6 months. So, so the point is that it's very hard to test the waters once you're in the market, or once you're in the industry. It's not easy, and also even switching jobs is not that simple, and may not be that simple, rather, I should say. And so as a result, what happens is you lose quality life, figuring out these things on trial and error basis. So here is what I tell everybody is, most of the people, the time that you have right now, between now and, let's say, I would say roughly around until 30, is the best time to build your career options.
Definitely.
Because once we talked about, let's say once you get to 30, you buy a house, you have mortgage, you have, maybe you get married, and then then there is that, and then there's kids, and yada yada. Once you get into that, it's a different path altogether.
Once you have the family, kids, once you get older, it's harder to take those risks and to really experiment.
You can maneuver things. That's when you start calling risk. Oh, if I change this, if I quit this company, go there, I'm taking risk because I have a lot of people, dependents at home, or I have to pay my mortgage, right? So right now, the risk factor is fairly low. What do you got to lose right now? Nothing, almost.
Yeah, it's more like an experiment. You're just testing the waters,
Correct. So that's
always
why
scroll, get back up. Yeah.
That's why sooner you realize, better it is for you to build your career. And then I call it leagues. Whether you're in minor league or major league. So once you get in a certain league, that will set your trajectory differently compared to starting from here, whatever it is. Whether it's job or doing your own business, whatever it may be. And this is the best time because, for instance, let's say, you get into a company or a startup, or you launch your own company. Somebody says, hey, you know what? I want you to be in London for the next 6 months. It's not a massive decision for you to make or move to London. You know what I'm saying? It's still, you have to think about your parents, your girlfriend, all that. I get it, but compared to post 30, 35, you got to think about a lot. So, my kids' school, elementary school, yeah. So, long story short, sooner, you realize that's why Siliconvalley4u is built to, or at least our passion is to make this awareness done by final year. By the time you exit academics, you should have a lot more clarity than what typical student has, so that your trajectory, your starting point will be hopefully at a higher level and with the clarity. It's not about the money. It's not about how much. Yeah, obviously money is important, but point is that it's not about how much salary. It's about, here is what where I want to start. Here is where I want to be in 3 years. Knowing that itself is a wisdom. I mean, it's incredible in my and then subsequently, once you have it, it's not, you drive towards reaching those goals and make changes, and then it's all that. So that's why I think you're among the people that I usually talk to. You're relatively have clarity. You're very fairly clear in terms of what you want to do, which is very, very, very good and very important in my opinion.
Still a work in progress, but yeah.
No, see, trust me, after 10 years, if you do a podcast, you're going to say, hey, work in progress. Point is that I call it continuous learning, right? There's always going to be something new, some new challenges. you want to get into something new and all that, just what you want. And not knowing, I don't know what I'm doing, man. That is not what you want. That's all I'm trying to say, So, I've seen both. That's why I know I clearly understand the distinction between saying, I remember when I first joined my first job in India. I remember telling my classmate, we were on the terrace, and I was telling him, I joined this company. There were only 5 companies. It's not easy to quit and get into another company. It's possible, but I don't know why. So anyway, so I was telling him there are only 5 companies. I joined one company and I don't know where it's going. I remember vividly, I don't know why I'm going to work. I go and I come back in the evening. I don't know what happens. I mean, I have to go next day because I'm getting paycheck, but I don't know why I'm going. You know what I mean? There's
Yeah.
no reason, purpose. I think that's the keyword. There was no purpose. Where is it going? So I remember, and he was preparing for some exams and things like that at that time. Anyway, I got a break, luckily, and then things worked out okay. But I've seen both sides. That's all I'm saying.
What how did you actually exit that field and get to where you were today?
So basically, okay, well, so there's a framework was a little different back then. So basically we go to work, and my manager was scared of me because we have no work. So I kept asking to give us projects and do something. And so the long story was, there is a company called Tandem. So it's a Texas-based company, by the way. So they were in Bay Area at that time. They had a contractual dispute, and as a result, Tandem stopped giving them projects. But they hired us already, and we were sitting there waiting for projects, and they decided not to give us. We didn't know any of them. I don't know. At least it's above my paycheck. So my manager is also not supposed to tell us, apparently. So he never used to tell us what's going on. He used to say, it's coming, it's coming. We're coming where? I mean, what? I mean, so so that was the situation. And then we go to work, we do something, go home. We go to work, go to something. And then one fine morning I got a call, and from one of my colleagues. He said, hey, there's this company, they want to hire us, and they want skill set that you have, and they want to talk to you. And then, so back then, I didn't even have a resume. I don't have a computer. We don't have computers at home. So we nothing. So then they said, okay, you don't need a resume, just come and talk to us. And then anyway, I went to interview at a 5-star hotel, and I gave the interview, and they said, I got a call by evening saying that we want to hire you.
Nice.
So they were
That's
supposed
awesome.
to bring us to US, and that's the deal. But I never believed what was going so fast. It's almost too good to be true.
Yeah.
Then I went and told my boss, hey, here is what, I mean, there's this. And then by the time I went to my boss, he already knew that there is some companies reaching out to all our folks. He already heard outside. Maybe they reached out to him also, who knows?
Yeah.
So he kind of sensed it, and he said, no, hold on. It's okay. We'll take care of it for you. And then next thing I know is I got a ticket to US, and they processed my visa, and they sent me here.
That's
And
awesome.
yeah, and
Is
then
this was this John Deere or what company was
so
this?
yeah, so I joined a company, Tandem. I mean, they sent me to John Deere.
Gotcha. Tennessee.
Their client is John Deere. I
Gotcha.
was there only for 3 months. That project got canceled.
Okay.
And then, so then I came back to Bay Area, and that's it. I never left Bay Area after that.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, I guess my point is that those were the days, right? Now, none of you guys have to go through that anymore. This is a different world we are in. And in other words, you can be in Texas and working for a company in New Zealand, for all you know, right? You don't have to move anywhere, and things are different. That's why we are doing what we are doing, and also this whole podcast and everything, because we want to bring that awareness, although the world has evolved, schools didn't. Second
Definitely.
is, even though so much content out there, it's not easy for an individual like you to figure out this is crazy amount of information, right? And even today, how do you know that you have a perfect situation sitting somewhere in Australia or New Zealand or South Africa? There is no way. What you do today, you apply in Bay Area or in Dallas, and then that's how still the case, right? So, so basically, what we doing with Silicon Valley4u, just like you're executing projects, once you get that awareness, once you get to know that there are about 300 companies, 400 companies, once you go through them as a process from first year, second year, third year, final until final year, once you get that a lot of awareness, you are in a better position to make a judgment than otherwise. That's the philosophy behind this mission, or whatever you call it. You should not be just a luck factor. Oh man, I ran into that, and then luckily I got in. That's what people say, right? Yeah, that's fine. Nothing wrong with it. And along with it, and you also have clarity, okay, and then your motivational drive is different than otherwise, right? Not knowing where it's going versus you have some clarity. And let's say if I'm joining Amazon, I should know what Amazon does, and what I should know what that group does, and I should know what happens to me after 3 years in that group. At least some idea whether that happens or not, secondary, probably may not happen. But at least, okay, this is my path, this is my roadmap for next 3 years. Okay, and then you have a reference to assess. Okay, if it's not happening, you make some adjustments, or you are better off than the roadmap that they told us. You're even better than that. Most companies will give you better options. They're not stupid. They're businesses. If they think that you're better material than what originally they envisioned, they'll give you better options. Trust me. And that's that. Otherwise, I, like me, shooting in the dark. Like, you just go in and you just do what they ask you to do, and then just wait for next thing to happen, whatever that is. Which is somebody's discovery, set up a discovery process for you. It's like that. And then I started with something. I ended up with a networking engineer. So how that happened, I don't know. So they did it for me.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So now with that, right? So when you join a company, what do you look for?
So the first thing that I look for in a company, I think that's the most important aspect of any organization, is the company culture.
Correct.
I think culture is so important, and not just like the success of the company itself, but also your own personal success, right? The culture will influence your happiness there, the people that you work with, the direction the company is going, right? And so I really prioritize personally a company that really focuses on its employees and its people, and providing them with the right mentoring resources to really prioritize growth, right? The whole point of just joining a company after college isn't just to make money. Money is very important, but it's also you want to be constantly learning and growing your career, and really finding a company that can give you the right resources to do that is so important, I think, for every college graduate. And so yeah.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, right? Things change, especially post-COVID. Now, a lot of companies are hybrid, or there are companies fully online, complete. Even Airbnb, for instance, 100% virtual. And there are a few here and there, physical, but not everybody's showing up to work. So my question to you is, does that bother you, or you don't care, or you prefer, what do you prefer among these three: physical, hybrid versus 100% virtual?
I think personally for me, remote or hybrid is the best in my opinion. Remote definitely gives you the most flexibility with work, but I also enjoy the flexibility of also being able to work in the office,
Yeah.
collaborating with your peers, and actually getting to network and really getting to know your your coworkers better face to face. I think definitely having that flexibility or the ability to work in the office or from home is my personal
Yeah.
preference. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think
Fantastic.
and nowadays since COVID, I think that is going to be the new normal. The
That's
hybrid remote.
I would say you have a right mind frame, in my opinion, because I know some of the folks, they are very desperate for a physical setup because, you know, because being a first job, and I mean, they envision certain way, work life, and it's now it's like completely. I mean, so I know some of the folks, they go to office, but none of the other folks are showing up. In other words, the day you go, the other guys don't come, and the days they come, you don't come. Bottom line is, it's never 100%. So some people are not very happy with it, and
Mm,
and I think having that adjustment in your mind is very important, because you're absolutely right. That's the way to go, and it's going to be hybrid predominantly. And in some cases, some companies lean towards 100% virtual. Very few companies are going to be 100% physical. The physical companies are mainly hardware companies, or anything that you have to physically manufacturing is the other one, where you have to go and do things on the premise. That has to be physical. Other than those, anything to do with software, especially, being 100% physical is not gonna. I don't think it's going to happen. I'll tell you why. Because even the company decides in that way, they might lose certain quality engineers, because engineers or prefer working from home and things like that. So prior to the pandemic, working from home is like incentive they were giving to employees, and I'm giving you because I like you, and I'm throwing this into the package so that you can be comfortable now. It's a normal. It's not incentive anymore. so so if you want to attract more, I mean, as a company, if you want to attract more, you have to give that flexibility of what being virtual. That's the bottom line.
yeah. Yeah.
And also, I mean, when it comes to tech, I think it's going to be more and more that way, in my opinion, because markets can shift to different parts of the world. For instance, let's say you develop interest in certain markets, and if your market is concentrated in a different part of the world, and back in the day, they used to just take off and move there, and then work there. And so that doesn't have to be the case. You can just still live in wherever you want to and continue to serve those markets wherever they are. Um, I know a lot of people that they had to move reluctantly to certain geographies because their job demanded them to move there. And I think that's hope. I mean, I'm glad that that's not the case for us, at least, for this job. And I'll for your type of role, solution architect, solution engineer, being virtual is mandatory, in my opinion, because you're going to be on the road. And so when you deal with your team from your customer place, you're virtual, and vice versa. When you are at home or at office, your customer is going to be remote, and you can't have all three of them at one place. Very, very, very rarely that happens. So in that sense, that aptitude of dealing with virtual things, whether it's a call or text or whatever, is very important. Because I know I do that every day. I deal with so many channels.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people just don't even read any of them. I mean, I send an email, and I have to call them and tell, hey, can you look into your inbox? Okay. So because they're not used to that kind of thing. But I mean, I'm not saying it's a great thing. It's not like a super duper skill. I mean, if I wish I didn't have to deal with it, but I do. So I have to do for my job. So yeah, so with that, can you tell me a little bit about, okay, now that you're working with Siliconvalley4u and you've been working on, so can you um, talk about your experience with what we are doing and anything that you want to share.
Working with Siliconvalley4u
Yeah,
on our
on the
project.
project. Yeah.
Um, do you just want to talk about the project,
Yeah,
or
you can just say the project, and you don't have to get into the project details.
okay,
Just the
yeah.
overall
So
experience, and also something about project, how that project potentially can help you to learn more about Java in this case, and things like that.
yeah, so as part of this project, it's actually one of my senior capstone project that we have to do for our curriculum. And so in general, how capstone works is that we get paired with a company, and we do a project for them. And so this specific project, we were actually building a Java web portal for Siliconvalley4u. So it's like a resource that programmers in the company can refer to and view like best practice for Java. Because a lot of software engineers, recent grads, they come into the industry, and there's lots of different coding standards that are I'm sure applicable to different industries, different companies. And so having more standardization is really important for new graduates, new employees in software development. And so we're just creating a web portal database that has everything that you would need for coding standards and learning how to utilize best practice for Java. And so for me, as an ITS student, I've only taken a couple coding courses in the past. I wouldn't say I'm much of a programmer myself. I have the basic skills, but through this project, I was actually able to get a refresher on my coding skills, Java, and diving a little bit deeper into Java as a whole. And so I really enjoyed that process of almost like relearning how to code and getting back into that. That was really cool. I definitely coding is something that I eventually want to get into. I think it's an extremely important skill to have in this day and age. I think everyone working in tech should learn how to code to a certain degree. I think it's a extremely helpful skill. Yeah, so working on this project was really cool, and definitely getting projects, as many projects as you can under your belt as a college student. And I think it's super important. You
Yeah.
really learn how to develop soft skills, working with a team, meeting deadlines, working with the customer, in addition to like the technical aspects.
Fantastic. Hey, this has been fantastic conversation. Like I said, we'll do series of these podcasts, and we'll talk to you down the road sometime about some of the other aspects of what you've been doing or what you want to do and things like that. And we really enjoyed as part of the team. You're very, very. One thing I liked about you is that you take initiative, which is very, very important, and you have that trait which is going to help you in your career. And also your communication is very crisp and really good. And I think
I
you have
appreciate
all
that.
the tools to become a solution architect or solution engineer, whatever you want to call it. I can see that. Um, yeah. So at the end of the day, only thing I suggest is that have a plan, a rough sketch of, okay, here
Gotcha.
I am down the road 3 years. I mean, just have an idea
Hmm.
and see, you know, have checkpoints here and there and see, okay, every 6 months, or am I going in that direction or not? Sometimes it feels like, at least for me, feels like it's not going anywhere. So
Yeah.
we all run into those situations once in life, at least once, few times in life, which is okay. Having that feeling than not having any feeling is is better to have some feeling that, hey, you know what, I have some kind of a idea of where I want to go, and I'm not going there, versus I don't know
Mhm.
where I'm going. Let's see what happens. So one other thing is that one thing that I also want to emphasize, which is in the current system, you spoke about, if you are who you are today is what you have been doing for last let's say 20 years. I'm assuming you are in that age range, right, roughly. So that's your identity today. So if you want, let's say, in 3 years down the road, or one day you want to be this, let's say, if you have an idea, in order to become that, if you want to develop certain skills, certain mindset, it's not the skills, it's the thinking process and the whole 9 years. It takes time. It's not a boot camp. The problem I have with folks when they say I finished my master's degree, I'm going to take a boot camp to get into a job. It baffles me. Man, you finished master's degree, you had a lot of time to and then now boot camp is not going to change him. Boot camp gives that resume item, and then he's changing once he gets the job. Point I'm trying to make is that once you decide, hey, I want to be, let's say you want to be a CEO of company, I'm just so you have to figure out what that means, and you have to develop those every day over a period of time so that you become CEO. You think like CEO. You are not reaching out at that time. You are a CEO in your mind, at least.
Yeah.
So those are the things. Those are the things that's the reason I say everything has to start in college, because it takes years to get there, because you are being trained in certain way. I'm not saying that that's not correct or wrong. I'm not saying that. Born you are trained in certain way, you are here. If this is what you want to be, and whatever you have is going to translate what you want to be, you're good. If that's not the case, it's not going to change in 1 or 2 months. Trust me, it's going to take time.
Long process.
And we call it experience, yada, yada. We use a lot of buzzwords. Bottom line is you don't have that mindset. That's it. So the Mark Zuckerberg was what, 26 when he became CEO. So back, 20 years ago, if you go and tell someone that this, college dropout is going to be CEO of a massive company, even today, if you are a very young guy, apply for a CEO job for Facebook. Let's see what happens. They don't even entertain the conversation. Point is that, can you become one? Yes. But are they going to talk to you? No. The reason is you don't have that mindset. It's not about experience. All that is great. Yeah, sure. I mean, what experience? Like, if you want to become a CEO, do you think CEO had experienced everything about the company? No. I mean, how many CEOs know, what is the CFO function?
Yeah,
I think so. How many CEOs know how accounting works, or some XYZ sales? They're good at something, and they have the overall, and they have the overall leadership, they call it. That's it, right? So there is no way you can learn everything. So there is no such thing. So the point is that the difference between him and a same age person who is not CEO is the mindset.
Gotcha.
So that mindset, that guy did over practice for a very long time. It's not like if you take Satya Nadella, Microsoft CEO, I guarantee you he was doing this every day for many years.
Yeah.
And then when he got an interview for CEO, he was ready. And bang on. And they knew this guy is going to be selected, most probably. They would have seen all that. That's why they picked him and they interviewed him. And anyway, the rest is all history. Point is that, anyway, I hope I'm not boring. My point I'm trying to make is, a roundabout point I'm trying to make is that anything that you want to develop, you have to do every day a little bit.
Consistent.
So that you become that.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Your identity becomes that. It's did you read that book? What is that? Atomic Habits.
Atomic Habits. I actually I haven't fully read through it, but I know a lot about the book.
Yeah.
And yeah, the biggest thing is like your habits, it's your actions, your habits make up your success, right? It's not just CEOs.
That makes you you become that. So that your identity changes. People look at you like that, whatever that is, than this, whatever you are today. So they have to, for instance, let's say, meditation. So let's say, they call it somebody does a great job meditating. That person being perceived as the guy who is a yogi. There are terminology they use. He's what is that? He's enlightened and things like that. I don't know. So I haven't seen anybody, by the way. But point is that there are words out there. So he practiced for so long and he got to that point. Now, when somebody looks at them, that's them. That's the perception they get immediately because he projects everything
Mm-hmm.
that as that person. So that's what I'm trying to say. In other words, when you talk to a CEO, you get a certain vibe. When you
Mm-hmm.
talk to someone else, you get a different vibe. The vibe, the difference is because he practiced that over a period of time. He's 100% convinced, and he knew, internally that he is the CEO.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And yeah, and so another one, and I'll stop this. Basically, Elon Musk. We all think $44 billion, $40 billion, right? 40 billion out of his pocket. For us, it's massive risk. For him, it's just I don't think so. It's normal for him because for him, he's able to internalize that. And somebody like me, I can never internalize that in my life for the rest of my life. So I can't even fathom what he's doing. And for some, it looks like he's just throwing away money. But he did once before, right? He threw all the money from PayPal into Tesla and then SpaceX. He made it work. Uh, that's the thing. It's a process, and he adhered to the process, I think, and that's why he's able to make such bold decisions. Um, anyway, that's. I hope it makes sense to you. That's one of the things I always tell everybody, especially younger guys.
No, I completely agree. Mindset is so important for people our age and like, people in college. I think so many people limit themselves because what they've internalized is that, oh, it's a glass ceiling, they really limit themselves, they hold themselves back because what they've internalized isn't as high as they can achieve. I think anyone can achieve thing like success on those levels, but so many people like you don't have the mindset, you don't think that you can actually get there.
You're
And but
right.
actually getting there takes lots of consistency over time. It's ingraining yourself through small actions, little actions every day that eventually pushing yourself, pushing your boundaries becomes a habit, becomes ingrained that hey, I can and will am someone that is that level of success.
You're
Yeah.
I've
Mhm.
been there. So when I left the college, my only my radar, my level of radar is finding a job. So,
Yeah.
and if somebody comes and say, "Hey, you want to be a CEO?" Then I just walk away. What are you? Yeah, I think he's just messing with me, basically, or anything for that matter. Anything outside of that, if they say, "Hey, you want to do that?" then I don't even look at that guy and say I walk away because he's wasting my time. And
Yeah.
because I'm completely convinced that my, my potential is this. And if I get a job, I'm doing well. Otherwise, there is nothing beyond that I'm capable of doing because I've
100%. Yeah,
told
yeah.
that so over and over, and I've never been exposed to anything outside of that. And as a result, um, I remember people having I remember my classmates and told me, "Hey, I'll give some money. Why don't you, I'll give the money. Why don't you start a business?" I just laughed at them. I was like, "What? What?" So I just walked away. I still remember whenever I meet with them once in a while, then that guy says, "Man, I asked you to do this long time ago. Now you're doing." So
Mhm.
because I never had belief that, or I never, I didn't know. So very simple. Anyways, thank you very much again. I really appreciate your time, and so we'll catch up again very soon.
Sounds good. Yeah. Thanks so much for having me here, Guru. Really appreciate your time as well.